In truth, this video ought to carry the title, "You're Dumber Than You Realize." But of course, a lot of proud fools wouldn't dare to click on something so brutally honest, so tricks must be used. The human brain, despite being the most sophisticated and intricate structure known in the universe, is in many ways hopelessly outdated. Not too long ago, well, on the scale of history, just a few thousand years back, it was actually possible for certain individuals to possess nearly the entirety of humanity's available knowledge. That wasn't because our ancestors were super geniuses. It was because knowledge itself was scarce, and the world picture was simpler. No microbiology, no quantum physics, no higher mathematics. Discoveries came so rarely that one could easily live an entire lifetime without ever adding a new piece to the puzzle. Those days are long gone. Now the pace of scientific and technological change is so fast that entire shelves of popular science magazines drown in the constant stream of new breakthroughs. Even brilliant minds like René Descartes were in some respects fools. His foundations of metaphysics can sound like child's play. And yet, compared to the overwhelming majority of his contemporaries, he stood on an entirely different level, and his influence is impossible to ignore. Some of his thoughts remain virtually unassailable, such as the famous phrase cogito ergo sum. Ask 95% of people what thinking even means, and they'll mumble incoherently. Psychology tells us that thought is a process of cognitive activity that allows us to gather, organize, and indirectly reflect the world around us. But let's be honest, most of these so-called intelligence tests are meaningless. Intelligence is simply the result of various cognitive systems, each with its own architecture and its own limits, working together. Trying to squash all of that into a single score is absurd. What really defines you as a rational being is the quality of your thinking, how coherent and complete your mental map of reality truly is. As Krieger once put it, man is the product of the universe's directed evolution with the purpose of self-understanding. Pause for a moment and really savor that line. It's worth it. Now take the old idea of tabula rasa, the claim that every human arrives in the world with a blank slate of mind. As children, through our senses, we desperately scribble onto that empty canvas, asking questions, poking at everything, sticking fingers into sockets. That's how we learn. Yet somewhere along the way, something inside us breaks. Our hunger to know mutates into a strange complacency. The real tragedy isn't that 95% of adults can't correctly explain why the sky looks blue or what causes the seasons. The tragedy is that millions of people wake up every morning believing in horoscopes, buying into dream books, or refusing to vaccinate their kids because they prefer folk remedies. Billions across the globe cling to ideas that could be demolished in minutes by simply Googling and actually reading a credible explanation. So when I hear the tired claim that we only use 10% of our brains, I almost begin to think it's true, at least for 95% of Earth's population. I'll say it again because it matters. One of the most vital marks of intelligence is your ability to construct an accurate, objective model of reality and reflect it clearly in your mind. Our brains theoretically can store the equivalent of over 250,000 books, but no single mind can ever absorb, let alone organize, all the knowledge humanity already holds. Even if immortality were granted, which, by the way, people don't actually want, no matter how much they say they fear death, that problem wouldn't be solved. I'll cover that in another video. No need to tangle everything here. But let's face it, people are dumber than they think, not just for the reasons already listed. The human brain comes with built-in flaws, primitive distortions that cannot be ignored. The first is the phenomenon of feeling of knowing, a gap between what we think we know and what we can actually recall. The second is the illusion of knowledge, the bias that tricks us into believing we understand something more deeply than we do. Every parent runs into this when they realize they can't answer their child's simplest questions. And then there's my favorite, the Dunning-Kruger effect, where those with the weakest abilities consistently overestimate their competence. Thanks to this, the world is filled with arrogant mediocrities who are rock solid in their self-confidence. while genuinely talented individuals often stay hidden behind doubts, insecurities, and fear. Yes, people are dumber than they imagine. But don't lose hope. To be smarter than 95% of the planet, you don't need to know everything. Use Descartes' method. Strip away the illusions, the inherited nonsense, and build your own worldview with your own mind. Do it carefully, do it honestly, and keep it objective. Otherwise, you'll spend your life trapped by the voices of authority, by the cliches of your environment, by the conditions of your upbringing, and most of all, by the built-in limits of your mind and senses. Don't settle for being part of the majority.
Like this video, write a comment, and subscribe to the channel.